Make an air dry clay surfboard tray with me. You guys love this one just as much as I did, so I thought I'd show you step by step how I made it. Also, a disclaimer, I know these videos are short, but this one took me exactly an hour to do. First, I started out by rolling out a slab of clay. I like to flip it over so it doesn't stick to the board. It doesn't look perfect, but you'll see what we do next to fix that. I take my sponge and I wet it and rub it along the slab in a circular motion to get all the air bubbles out and cracks. Then I take this stencil that I made by tracing a picture of a surfboard and set it on the slab. I trace it with this sharp tool before I cut it. This just gives me a little room for errors so that I don't cut the actual paper or make a wrong cut into the clay. Then I use an X-Acto knife and actually cut it out of the clay. This part is super satisfying. I take the leftover clay scraps and ball it up and put it in a plastic bag so I can use it later. I rub the clay down again with a wet sponge, and this just gives it a nice layer of moisture before I move on to the next step. Another good tip is putting a damp paper towel on top of it so that it doesn't dry out while you're working on the other pieces. I set that aside and then grab a new piece of clay to roll out into a really long coil. This will end up being the outer border of the surfboard, so make sure it's really long and then roll it out with your rolling pin so that it's flat. Then you can use a ruler and an X-Acto knife to get a nice straight edge in the clay. You want to make a border that's about 1/4 of an inch thick depending on how thick you made the surfboard slab. Then you can line up the border around the edge of the surfboard and begin to cut each piece to the size of that edge. Again, I rub it down a little bit with a wet sponge. I like to do this throughout the whole process just to keep it nice and wet and easy to work with. Next, I use a technique called scoring and slipping, and this helps two pieces join together without coming apart during the drying process. Basically, I just take a sharp tool and scrape both of the surfaces that'll be connected. And then I use this muddy looking mixture called slip that's basically just clay and a little bit of water. And I use either my finger or a paintbrush and rub it on. And then I carefully just press the two pieces together. I just do that around the entire surfboard with the whole border and then start rolling out another coil. This one will be much smaller, but it'll be used to press into the seam of the border and the base and just give it a smoother look. Now the hard part starts and we have to smooth this all together. I like to dip my clay tools in water while I'm working with them and then just carefully press the coil into the clay. I recorded an entire time lapse of this process and for some reason it didn't work and I'm so mad about it, but just use your fingers and tools and dip them in water and continue to smooth it out. Don't be afraid if you get some cracks. Just take a little bit of slip and a tool or your finger and rub the slip into those cracks. And that's all for part 1. I'm going to leave this to dry for a couple days and come back to sand it and paint it. If you've made it this far, let me know if you like these kinds of videos, and if you decide to make this, tag me in your videos.